following my content recently, we had a discussion a month ago about Rebecca Joynes, a UK teacher that was accused of sexually assaulting two young underage boys, one of which were one of her students. She got arrested for that, but then what made the story even crazier was that she proceeded to sexually assault another underage boy under the bail condition that she wasn't allowed to be around any minor without adult supervision. But because she was quote unquote at a low point in her life, this second boy, came into her life and she couldn't think between her shoulders. She just had to think between her legs, and she proceeds to link up with the second boy and proceeds to sexually assault him as well. If you want to watch that video, the link to the video is in the description down below. If you ever want to check it out, you'll be more kept up to speed there. But in this video, I'm going to give you the cliff notes. I'm going to try to keep it as short and clean as possible. She had a math class and there was this boy. She came out of a 9-year relationship that was pretty messy, and she was flattered by the fact that there were a lot of teenage boys in the school that found her attractive. Of course, she would prey on one of the students in her math class. She picked him up on a Friday afternoon after school. Boy A lied to his parents about going to his friend's house to play some computer games. She took him to a mall. They went to like this luxury store or something like that, and she bought him a Gucci belt that was worth 345 pounds, which is like the near equivalent of like over $400 in US currency. After the whole shopping spree, Rebecca and boy A would proceed to her house, where she would proceed to sexually assault him not once but twice that same night. She would tell the boy, hey, don't tell anybody about this. Despite her warning him, the boy would speak to like one of his best friends and said, hey, I had sex with Miss Joynes. He snuck a photograph of Rebecca while he was in her house, and rumors started to circulate around the school. Police got involved. She got fired from her job. She was arrested for not only sexually assaulting a minor, but she did it in a position of trust, which is like another separate charge. She was released on bail, and that bail condition was, hey, listen, we'll release you on bail, but you are not to be around any minors without any adult supervision within your vicinity. She was released. And, she goes through a low point in her life, and she moved in with her parents after the whole thing. On Snapchat, there's this other boy who hits her up. I don't know what the relation of this boy is. I'm not sure if he's a friend of a friend or just another student that so happened to hear, things about Rebecca and decided to shoot his shot. But he did, and Rebecca took advantage of that. She was trying to push the whole, I was in a low point and I was vulnerable. Bull fucking shit. So after she gets a new place, she moves into her new home. She takes it upon herself to invite this boy B, we'll just call him boy B, into her new home. Now, she claims that they didn't really have sex. All they did was like kiss, and that's really it. That's just her defense or her take on the whole situation, because she knows that she's under legal troubles with another minor that she sexually assaulted. So for legal reasons, she's not trying to take it any further until boy B just turned 16. Basically, she invites him over. He turned 16. Just like boy A, boy B would lie to his parents, said he's out and about, chilling with his friends, they're gonna see some soccer games, and that's about it. He heads on over to Rebecca's place and sleeps over at her new home. Now, mind you, Rebecca may have lied to this boy, saying that she couldn't get pregnant. Turned out she could get pregnant, and boy B is the father. Now, ever since she got pregnant, she became more controlling, more manipulative, more jealous of like his time and who he pays attention to and everything. It started to go downhill very quickly, and boy B just wasn't with that shit. So as a last ditch effort to save the relationship, Rebecca would invite the boy to her apartment one last time, and she would have like candles and rose petals and a bunch of sex games, and last but not least, a baby onesie that says #1 best dad, in which boy B was shocked by and he felt disgusted by, because of course, he felt as if he was being lied to, and he left her. Rebecca would then later on send a text message or a letter to him saying something along the lines of hey, you're my everything, I'm sorry, I really want this to work out and whatnot. And then after that, she was arrested about a day or two later. This is basically the photo of her being arrested. The police entered her new home and said, hey, listen, we heard that you sexually assaulted another minor, and on top of that, you broke your bail condition of being around a minor without adult supervision. So we're going to have to take you in. They read her rights and everything, and she basically got thrown in jail. Mind you, she is still pregnant at this time, so she was only in jail for like 5 months until she gave birth to a baby sometime like earlier this year. So they had to bail her out of jail again for the sole fact that, hey, she is pregnant. So now that we're kept up to speed with everything as they went through the trial, she's been found guilty on all counts of sexual assault with a minor, 2 of which she was in a position of trust, and she's going to jail for 6.5 years. I'm just gonna fast forward on this article here and just get to the nitty-gritty part of all this. So the sentencing joined us at Manchester Crown Court. Judge Cornell told the defendant, basically Rebecca, there is a breathtaking arrogance in your conduct. You were the adult, you were the person in control, the person who should have known better and entrusted by the school and the boys and by their parents of caring for their sons. Instead, you abused that position of trust and exploited the privileged role for your own sexual gratification. And the judge is spot on. There's really nothing I can say here. She's a trusted member in the community, and she weaponized that trust to fulfill whatever sexual desire that she had. What you did was wrong. And not only did you go out of your way to sexually assault one of your students and you're now in legal trouble for it, you still took advantage of the fact that you was released on bail, and despite the conditions imposed on you, you still went out of your way to have sexual relations with yet another minor after the fact. It's like as if Rebecca doesn't even think between her shoulders, like she's thinking between her legs at this point. Like, everyone goes through low points in time, but no one would resort to having sex with minors and calling it, oh, well, I was in a low point. I didn't know what I was doing. I was living with my parents. I didn't have my home anymore. Like, it's so bullshit. It's something that I just can't comprehend, and it's something that we shouldn't understand or comprehend, because there is no low point in your life as a 30-year-old individual that would resort to even committing these kinds of crimes. So the article will continue on. By the way, this is Boy B talking here. In my previous video, Boy B was talking about how, like, he just took the opportunity to have sex with Joyner because she was just attractive, and the kid was younger, he was stupid and everything. He just sees someone who's attractive and thought, what's wrong with that, you know? Like, any of the boys would hit it if they had the opportunity, and I just took the chance when I could. He kind of did a whole 180 here to say, in a victim impact statement read in court by the prosecutor, Boy B said the grooming had meant that he would, quote-unquote, argue until I was blue in the face protecting Joyner and would not hear a bad word against her. He added, I was coerced, controlled, manipulated, sexually abused, and mentally abused. It is very upsetting that this has happened to me. The months after the abuse happened to me was a very dark time. I felt backed into a corner. I just lived a double life for 18 months behind my family's back. This had a massive mental toll over me and my family. It tore my family apart. They struggled to come to terms with the fact that they sent me to school where they believed it would be a safe environment, and this happened as a result. And I'm pretty happy that Boy B has dialed it back and slowly started to understand that, listen, this isn't you jumping on the first opportunity to have sex with an attractive older woman. You are a victim here. She weaponized your trust in her against you. This is you probably just coping for the time being, saying like, oh yeah, of course I would hit it. I did what I did, But now you're coming to the realization that you was abused. And she was weaponizing that against you. She was weaponizing her authority, her trust, the fact that she's attractive. She used all of that against you. And I'm really happy that he says this now, because in my previous video, I was talking about how there is a stigma behind men especially, let alone underage men, that are victims of sexual assault. And anytime the perpetrator or the predator is a conventionally attractive woman, there's always that demographic of people that say like, oh, you should be grateful that a woman that attract. What? Like, I would never snitch on a teacher like that if I was getting my knob slob. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, there's always some association with it being like a pussy or being gay or just being a whole entire weirdo because an attractive woman wants to have sex with you, let alone the fact that you're underage, which is the biggest red flag. But unfortunately, we kind of live in that society where people think that. So again, I'm really happy that Boy B is speaking this into the public and saying that, you know, I was a victim, you know, this was my mentality before, but this is what happened now, and it tore my family apart, it tore me apart, I lived a double life. I'm just really happy that he's acknowledging the damage that was done by Rebecca and the outcome of it all. And finally, we're going to fast forward to the end of the article here. Judge Cornell told Joynes, who was crying as she was sentenced, it may be asked what a 15-year-old boy would not want to have sex with an older, attractive teacher. Surely they would be up for it. How can this be a crime? Well, Miss Joynes, there's no doubt this is a crime. Both boys were very much victims, obviously unworldly and vulnerable to the advances from an older, attractive woman. Joynes also registered as a sex offender for life, issued with a sexual harm prevention order for 10 years, plus a restraining order in relation to both boys. So there you basically have it. She's going to prison for 6.5 years. She's going to be registered as a sex offender for life. There's this thing known as Sexual Harmful Prevention Order, or known as SHPO. I had to look into that real quick. According to here, it said that a Sexual Harm Prevention Order, or SHPO, is a court order put in place to prevent a person from engaging in a particular activity. It is very common for a person who is convicted of online sexual offenses relating to children to be subject to a SHPO and is often given at any time of the sentencing. Now, I don't know exactly what that particular activity is. From what I've gathered from bits and pieces across the internet, that could be including but not limited to traveling or social media or just generally just not being around kids, especially without adult supervision, or not moving into a home where there is a school nearby or things like that. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But until then, there's all of these charges, that all these consequences that she's currently facing, and I'm pretty happy that this is the result and she's being held accountable for her actions. I still kind of feel a bit salty about the whole prison sentencing thing. I felt that that could have been a little bit longer, maybe hit the double digits, at least 10 years, but they hit her with 6.5 years. For what reasons, I don't know. That's outside of my role. That is outside my desk. So I'm not even gonna entertain that. Other than that, she's got a book thrown at her. I'm pretty happy about this. It came across my newsfeed and I recognized her face and I'm like, oh, she's finally put in jail. But other than that, guys, that's about it. Hopefully the boys recover, they come to terms with things, and they find some sort of peace with their lives after what Rebecca has done to them. And until then, that's about it, y'all. Peace.